Modern games feel exhausting, and I don't mean that they're bad, because honestly, a lot of them are incredible. Some of the most technically impressive, visually stunning, content rich games we've ever had are coming out right now, but there's a certain feeling that comes with them that's hard to ignore. Everything is bigger, everything is longer, and it's designed to keep your attention every second you are playing. Open worlds are filled with icons, systems stack on top of other systems. There's always something pulling you in, another objective, another unlock, another thing that you're supposed to be doing. After a while, it all starts to blur together. You can play for hours and still walk away feeling like nothing really stuck. Like you've experienced a lot, but didn't actually feel much of it. It's like modern games are constantly talking to you, constantly giving you something, but rarely just letting you sit in the moment and exist in it. And before we go any further, I want to ask you something. What's the best non-mainline Halo game? Not the most obvious answer, but the one that actually stayed with you. Was it Halo Reach, Halo Wars, or something else entirely? Or perhaps it's ODST? Let me know down in the comments, because I'm generally curious where people land on this. And if you do end up enjoying this video, please consider leaving a like and subscribing, as it really helps this channel out and helps me keep making content like this. A few weeks ago I was talking with some friends about Halo. Nothing structured, just one of those late night conversations where you start bouncing between memories and arguing about favourite missions, remembering those small details that you forgot to even care about. And somehow, we're landing on that exact same question. What's the best non-mainline Halo game? At first the answers were predictable. Reach came up immediately. Halo Wars got mentioned. Someone tried to argue for Infinite.
Seriously?
Seriously.
But then ODST came up. And once it did, it didn't really leave a conversation. Because the more we talked about it, the more we realised something. ODST feels different, not just in gameplay, but in tone, in pacing, and how it presents itself. It doesn't try to compete with the rest of Halo in the way you'd expect. It's not bigger, it's not louder, and it's not constantly trying to escalate, and because of that, it sticks with you in a completely different way. So I went back to it. I booted up expecting a quick revisit, an hour or two at most, just enough to get the nostalgia out of my system. Instead, I ended up playing through the entire game in one sitting, not skipping cutscenes, not rushing missions, just letting it play the way out it was meant to. And somewhere along the way, it clicked. ODST isn't memorable in spite of being smaller, it's memorable because of it.
Ms. Naval Intelligence, our new boss. So check your mouths, find your chairs, and get set for a combat drop.
What really makes ODST work starts with its structure. Most Halo campaigns are built like a straight line. You drop in, you push forward, and the scale increases. By the end of it, you've saved something massive. ODST doesn't follow that structure at all. Instead, it builds itself around a loop. You play as the rookie, moving through New Mombasa at night. It's quiet, slow, and almost aimless at first. You're not being pushed forward, you're searching, looking for your squad and trying to piece together what happened. When you find something, a clue, a piece of equipment, a marker from one of your teammates, it triggers a flashback. Suddenly, you're not the rookie anymore. You're playing as Buck or Dutch or Mickey or Romeo. The pacing shifts instantly. The missions are louder, more chaotic, more in line with traditional Halo. You'll play through that moment and then it ends. And just as quickly as it ramped up, the game drops you back right into the city. Back into the rain. Back into the silence. Back to being alone. And that contrast does something more than just break up the pacing. It changes how you approach the game entirely, because you are not Master Chief anymore. You're not a walking tank with rechargeable shields and near limitless survivability. You're an ODST. You take real damage. You don't bounce back instantly. You can't just sprint into every encounter and expect the outcome to be fine. That changes the rhythm of combat in a subtle but important way. You move slower, you think more, you hesitate before pushing forward. Even something as simple as jumping feels different. You're heavier, more grounded, and that grounded feeling carries throughout everything. Encounters aren't about dominance, they're about control, about staying alive just long enough to get through. And it's interesting, because mechanically, the differences aren't huge, but psychologically, they matter a lot. The game never needs to tell you that you are weaker, you can just feel it. That same philosophy carries into the way the city is presented. New Mombasa at night isn't just a backdrop, it's the core of the experience. This isn't just a battlefield in progress, it's the aftermath of something that's already happened. You're walking through empty streets, seeing what's left behind, trying to reconstruct events without being directly told what they were.
Son of a gun!
Wanna live? Get your ass out of the street!
Cars sit abandoned in the middle of the road, as if people left in a hurry. Neon signs flicker against the rain, and audio logs play fragments of conversations that no one is around to finish. It feels like a place that was alive just hours ago, and now it isn't. And what's really interesting is how little the game does to force that feeling on you. There's no objective marker telling you to observe the environment. There's no checklist of things to find. You're just there, moving through it at your own pace. In a way, ODST almost feels like an open world, but not in the way that we think about it today. There are no icons, no side quests, no systems pulling your attention in 10 different directions. It's open in the sense that it gives you space, but it doesn't demand anything from you while you're in it. And that's something modern games rarely do. They give you some space, but they fill it with tasks. ODST gives you space, and lets it stay quiet. That quiet is reinforced by the sound design in a way that's so easy to overlook. Because it's not just in the music, it's everything else around it. The distant sound of Covenant patrols moving through the streets, the echoes of your footsteps, the rain hitting the ground around you, long stretches where there's almost nothing happening at all. Most games are afraid of silence. They fill it with dialogue, music or constant activity to keep you engaged. ODST does the opposite. It lets silence exist, and in doing that, it makes the world feel more real, more grounded, and more alone. Even the VISR mode plays into this. It strips the world down into outlines and contrasts, turning the city into something almost abstract. You're not seeing it for its beauty, you're seeing it for what matters. With movements and threats passing forward, it feels less like you're exploring a place and more like you're navigating it. This feature is often debated between fans. Some people like it, some people hate it. I'm on the side of enjoying it when needed. It's not necessarily required to be used in the game, but it can help highlight some interesting areas. You may miss stuff unless you know the game well. And then, every time the game pulls you out of that space and into a flashback, the shift hits harder. Ciari Plaza immediately flips the tone. You're playing as Buck, and everything feels faster, more aggressive, the combat is tighter, the pacing is more intense. There is a clear sense of urgency driving the mission forward. But even here, there's something deeper happening. Buck isn't just fighting, he's looking for dare. That underlying motivation gives the mission weight beyond just completing objectives.
I'm here. I gotcha. Oh, nuts.
Then the game shifts again. Uplift Reserve opens everything into a wide, chaotic battlefield filled with vehicles and a large-scale encounter. It's loud in a completely different way, emphasizing movement and scale instead of tight, controlled combat.
Warn the chieftain! The enemy has breached our line!
Kill that ghost before it raises the alarm!
Then Kazingo Boulevard changes the pace again, putting you into a Scorpion tank and forcing you to move more deliberately. Every shot matters, every push forward feels heavy.
Good work, Trooper. Covenant's been rolling us back block by block.
Then we move to Oni Alpha site. It flips the fauna entirely, turning the mission into a defensive holdout where you are not advancing, you are just trying to survive. And that's quite a big statement and takeaway for the game. You are just trying to survive. You are not invincible, and like I mentioned previously, you are not Master Chief. So every attack and every approach feels more vulnerable, and I like that it's different from the mainline games. Being an ODST and not some superhuman really does change the feeling of the world of Halo. That change of perspective really adds value to the game and makes it stand out so differently among the other Halo titles, and it's probably why I have such a deep appreciation for it. What makes all of this work is that none of it feels random. Each mission feels intentional. Each one is tied to the character you are playing, reinforcing who they are through how they play. And over time, that builds something stronger than just a series of set pieces. It builds a connection to the squad. And that connection goes deeper than the main missions if you let it. Because running alongside everything else in ODST is a completely optional story, Sadie's story, told through audio logs scattered throughout the city. And it's easy to miss. You can play through the entire game and never engage with it at all, but if you do, it adds another layer to everything.
Covenant armor approaching the station, sir. What do we do?
We wait! Don't you see the beauty of it, Sadie? Whatever you think of me, whatever I have done, I will leave this city with vital intelligence about the Covenant.
Bastard.
Call me what you like, but the world will call me a hero.
It's smaller, more personal, focused on civilians instead of soldiers, and it reinforces that the idea of the city wasn't just a battlefield, it was a place that people lived, a place people lost. And by the time it all comes together, it reframes parts of the story in a way that feels surprisingly heavy for something so easy to overlook. That layered storytelling is part of why ODST characters work as well as they do. They're not larger than life heroes, they feel grounded. Buck is confident, but not invincible. Dare is distant, but clearly driven. Romeo hides behind sarcasm. Mickey feels the most vulnerable, the most human. Dutch is steady and reliable, and as the missions progress, those personalities start to come through more clearly. Not through huge dramatic moments, but through small interactions and bits of dialogue that make them feel real.
Just glad we didn't go with your first plan. Look at those tunnels. Ones that aren't flooded are probably packed with buggers. Hell, I wouldn't go down there even if you ordered me to.
Come on, Veronica. What could be more important than that carrier?
My orders. And Buck, call me Captain.
Mickey, turn around. Find a safe place to set us down.
What? Why?
I lost something. Now I know where to find her.
And that's where ODST quietly separates itself from something like Reach. Because Reach is emotional, but it's still framed around heroism, around sacrifice. ODST isn't about that. It's about getting through the night, about surviving something you were never in control of to begin with. And that difference changes the tone of everything. That shift becomes more apparent in Data Hive. Up until that point, the rookie sections are grounded in the city, with the consistent atmosphere tying everything together. Data Hive removes that entirely. The city is gone, the music is gone, and you're underground moving through cold, sterile tunnels. The pacing slows, but the tension increases. It feels unfamiliar in a way that the rest of the game doesn't, and that's exactly why it works. This is where everything starts to come together. The narrative threads, the purpose behind Dare's mission, the role of the engineers, it all collects into place here. And it works because the game didn't rush to get there. It built it up gradually, letting the player piece things together over time, instead of dumping everything at once.
This engineer knows what the Covenant's after. If I could safely capture more of them, I would. What they know could win the war.
Oh,
You haven't killed any of them, have you?
no! Well, maybe one or two.
The finale, Coastal Highway, brings everything back together. It's the most traditional Halo mission in the game, with large-scale combat, vehicles, and constant pressure from every direction. But it doesn't feel out of place. It feels earned. Because you've spent the entire game grounded, moving through quiet spaces and experiencing smaller moments. So when the game finally lets itself go big again, it hits harder. And then it ends. Quietly. No over-the-top victory, no drawn-out conclusion. Just the squad, still alive, the mission complete, and the city left behind. It's a subdued ending, but it fits perfectly with everything the game has been building toward. And the more you sit with it, the more you realise why games like this don't really get made anymore. Not because they can't, but because they're risky. ODST doesn't overload you with content. It doesn't constantly reward you. It doesn't try to keep you engaged every second. And in today's landscape, that would probably be seen as a flaw. People would now ask, where's the side content? Where's the progression systems? Perhaps maybe even ponder, where's the season pass and additional DLC? That's because story-focused games have clearly changed in the modern dynamic. Games have to have some kind of live service offering now to keep people engaged. And that is a disappointing part of modern gaming. And this is why it hits harder playing this game, because you realise what we've lost. However, that is exactly why this works, because ODST isn't trying to be one of these live service games. It was brought in a time where it was single player focused and additional multiplayer content with Halo 3. ODST isn't trying to be everything. It's trying to be one very specific experience, and it commits to that completely. It's focused, intentional, and paced in a way that very few games are. And coming back to it now, after years of playing games that are bigger and longer, and riddled with microtransactions and live service content, that focus stands out more than ever, because it reminds you of something that's easy to forget. Not every game needs to be massive. Not every game needs to fill every second. Sometimes, what makes something memorable is the space it gives you to feel it. And that's why ODST still works. Because in a world where everything is trying to be bigger, ODST chose to be smaller. And because of that, it's unforgettable. In a time where games are constantly trying to justify their length with more content, more systems, more everything, ODST feels refreshing. It's short, around 5 to 6 hours, but it uses every minute effectively. There's no filler, no wasted space, no moments that feel like they're just there to stretch out the experience. Everything serves a purpose. That's also why its atmosphere hasn't really been replicated. Most games aren't willing to be this quiet. They're not willing to let the player sit in downtime without filling it with something. ODST takes that risk and it pays off. The silence becomes part of the experience. The city becomes a character. And the moments in between the action become just as important as the action itself. So after going back to it, after replaying it properly and actually letting it be what it is, I think the answer is pretty clear. Halo 3 ODST might not be the biggest non-mainline Halo game, and it might not even be the most ambitious on paper, but it's the one that feels the most complete. Not because it tries to do everything, but because it does exactly what it sets out to do, and nothing more. And sometimes, That's exactly what a game needs to be.